Welcome to Politics Unplugged. I'm Trujillo. Sad, scared, frustrated, emotions so many of us are feeling after the recent shootings in El Paso and Dayton, leaving more than 30 people dead and leaving us asking, will anything change? President Trump says he has a plan. He says he needs bipartisan support for his 5-point plan to end mass shootings. It focuses on action and prevention and starts with the FBI.
We have asked the FBI to identify all further resources they need to investigate and disrupt hate crimes and domestic terrorism.
President Trump wants the FBI to step up its practice of monitoring the internet and social media for warning signs. He's also calling for violence in video games to be limited, echoing the pleas heard after the Columbine shooting 20 years ago. The plan also calls for reforming mental health laws, the passage of red flag laws like the one passed here in Colorado that allows courts to remove weapons from people deemed a threat to themselves or others. And finally, the plan calls for the death penalty for any person who commits a hate crime or mass shooting. Now here in Colorado, George Brauchler has put forward his own plan. Brauchler is the district attorney for the 18th Judicial District, which includes the counties where the STEM school and Aurora Theater shootings took place. He wants new laws that would strengthen penalties for breaking gun laws.
We can do are to provide the resources and meaningful promise of punishment for people who try to go into gun stores, lie about their background to get a gun that they shouldn't have, for felons that continue time and again to possess firearms to know that if they do it, they will lose their liberty, instead of telling them, you know what, you could walk out of the courthouse with probation.
Brauchler also wants to strengthen the relationship between law enforcement and gun shops as a way to ensure that they are selling to law-abiding citizens and not criminals. He's also asking for a special prosecutor dedicated to illegal gun sales. Fact of the matter is, people are fed up. They want the violence to stop. And we've heard these calls before, and yet little has been done on the national level. I recently had the chance to sit down with Congressman Jason Crow, and we started our discussion focused on gun violence. Well, Congressman Jason Crow is back with us to talk more about this. I know you've seen the president's plan, more FBI involvement, red flag laws and so forth. Is that a plan Congress can get behind?
Well, you know, the president has come out and said some things, but we haven't seen any action, right? I am actually very skeptical that there's going to be follow through, because he has this tendency to talk about things and then back off of them. You know, years ago, he actually came out and said he was for background checks, and then within 3 days, pressure by the NRA had him completely fall back on that. So, you know, the proof is going to be in action, right? And we have taken action. I've been in Congress for 7 months. In February, we passed universal background checks, H.R. 8, one of the priorities of this Congress, which is actually what we have in Colorado already. Right. We have background checks here after the Aurora Theater shooting. People demanded it. The leaders listened. We passed it. It's prevented over 2,000 sales of firearms to people that should not have them in the years since we've had it here in Colorado. It's time we do it at the federal level, too.
A lot of people have said that the president's words are inciting violence to some degree. What do you think?
I agree with that. You know, the words of our leaders matter. You know, it matters what the presidents say. It matters what our leaders say at all levels. People listen to that. His words have been hateful. They have been divisive. He has said things that have undermined and marginalized communities right here at home in Colorado and in my district. And he needs to change. It needs to stop. He needs to stop dividing our community. This hateful rhetoric needs to stop. And until it does, I'm going to continue to be very forceful in pushing back on it and be very clear about what our community values are.
So where do you stand on the impeachment inquiry, for example?
Well, I came out last week and I said I think it's time that we initiate an inquiry to make a decision about whether or not to forward articles of impeachment. So what that means is, if we were to start an impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives, that gives us the tools to ask for testimony, to ask for information, to gather that information, and then make a decision about whether or not to forward articles of impeachment to the floor for a vote. What's happening right now is this administration is stonewalling Congress. You know, this is unprecedented, what's happening. You know, we have a sitting president who is preventing his employees, you know, high-level members of the administration, even former employees, from responding to lawful subpoenas by Congress to provide testimony. They're not giving us information. They're not responding to document requests. It is unbelievable. It has to stop. So I think Congress needs the tools to actually get that information so we can assess what the next steps are and we can actually present it to the American people.
I know you said you've been in Congress 7 months now, and I think people are tired of hearing bickering and hearing he should do this, she should do that. I mean, what can you do to give confidence to Coloradans in your district that that things can be put on the right track?
Well, I'm continuing to push hard on the things that I promised on the campaign trail and continue to promise to deliver, whether it's gun violence, environmental protections, reducing the cost of prescription drugs and health care, the kitchen table issues that the people in our community struggle with every day. I'm also doing things to show that government can work. I have this initiative called Lead Locally, where I spend time once a month. We spend a day, we connect with local mayors, county commissioners, city councilors, and we tour the various cities and municipalities around the district, and we learn what the local concerns are, and then we follow up with our staffs and with the local leaders, and we take action on those things to help the local government. So we're showing that it can work, and we're developing those relationships.
Robert Mueller testified before Congress about his report about the election that was just a couple of weeks ago. You've introduced the Foreign Influence Reporting in Elections Act. So what does that do, and if it passes, what impact would that have?
Yeah, I've been working with my colleagues and friends in Congress to make sure that we are protecting the integrity of our elections. I mean, this is a sacred thing. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I took my first oath to this country to protect and defend the country and the Constitution. I viewed that as a lifetime oath. So I'm darn well not going to stop defending the country now. We are under attack on a daily basis by foreign powers trying to undermine our election system and the integrity of our votes. To understand election security, you have to understand Russia, because they're our primary threat. And to understand Russia, you have to understand Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has one lifetime goal, and that is to destroy American democracy. He gets up every morning and goes to bed every night thinking about how to do that. And it's about time that we start taking him seriously.
We saw Denver pull the contracts for the group that operates the ICE facilities. Where do you stand on that? I know you've been critical of the GEO Group.
Yeah, the last 6 months we've done a lot of oversight on the GEO facility in Aurora. Right. It's a large detention center in our backyard in my district.
Right.
There hasn't been transparency. They didn't allow me to get in for almost 24 days. I asked 3 times before they finally allowed me access. So I'm going to work very hard to make sure we're holding them accountable. I've been very clear that I don't think there should be for-profit private prisons. When you add a profit motivation into the prison system or an ICE detention center, what you get is the bottom line driving things, right? You have a company in GEO that last year made $2.5 billion of profit, yet at the same time, we've had multiple disease outbreaks in the facility in Aurora. They still can't get their arms around the disease outbreaks. There's one going on right now. They have multiple vacancies in their health department. They're missing doctors. They're missing nurses. I visited just a few weeks ago. There are detainees that are telling me they can't even get a visit to see a health professional.
So what do you think about Denver pulling their contracts then?
Well, I think Denver is leading the way on that. They have said that their values aren't consistent with what I just talked about. Private prisons, that profit motivation. I think it's the right move. The implementation is going to be really important here. It has to be implemented in the right way.
With just 30 seconds left, I know you just recently helped out with the naturalization ceremony that was important for you. Yeah. So tell me more about that.
That was actually one of the best things I think I've done in Congress. Just a couple of days ago, I was able to help swear in over 60 new citizens from 28 different countries at the Aurora Municipal Center. These are people that came from all over the world. Many of them had spent years getting here, working hard to get their citizenship. To see the hope and the excitement and the love of this country in the faces of those men and women was unbelievable. I actually get a little choked up just talking about it right now. Truly inspiring, and it just reinforced for me that is who we are. That is America. That is our community. That is my district. We are stronger because of the contributions of those immigrants, and I'm going to continue to fight for them.
Congressman Crow, thank you so much for being here and meeting up with us on a regular basis. I appreciate it. And stay with us. We will be right back.